Okay, so it's been kind of a lot this year. I think if anyone has ever been, molested or raped or knows people who have been in those categories, I would say it's been an awful year and an awful month. And unfortunately, because of the work I do, I've heard 30 years of child rape stories. 30 years. And anecdotal evidence tells me it is a much more rampant problem than anyone wants to admit or deal with or face. Especially the pedophiles and predators, who are the so-called elite parasite class. So, I mean, satire's great, right? Like, we need it in a free society. But it's supposed to be funny, right? Like, it's actually supposed to be humorous instead of obnoxious and juvenile and petty and like a gaslighting thing. Like, at least that's my understanding. So I probably have a very specific kind of humor. It's Boston, so it is heavily sarcastic. Um, but there are some disturbing trends in the last several years, right? Like the incel thing, which is basically a fancy way of saying, pretty much rapist. If you're an incel, you want to be a rapist. That's what you're saying. You're saying involuntary celibacy means I should go and be able to grab women, grope them, and hurt them. And then this trad wife stuff, or even crunchy moms, or whatever the fuck. They're all dressing like pinup girls or women from the 50s, because that was a good time for women, right? Like, you couldn't own anything. You were basically a piece of property. And then we've got Trump saying that Epstein stole Virginia Giuffre from him, who then ended up getting hit by a bus and dying from something that, Epstein died of, probably. So, the South Park stuff, like, I've never resonated to South Park or Family Guy or any of these things where it was like a dumbed down America thing, idiocracy, right? Like, where you're in trouble if you're intelligent here. You're really in trouble. You have to have the humor of a 14-year-old boy who's probably just, jerking off every other day to his cousin or something, or porn or cousin porn. That's his genre, something. Inbreeding, because that's a thing in their world for sure. And that's where the brains get a little stunted and then the humor gets a little stunted. So all I want to say to the gaslighting influencers and so-called comedians is you're not that funny if you have to make fun of women and children or hurting them or keeping them small or overworking them to death and not appreciating them. I don't find humor in that whatsoever. What I do find humor in is the karma that's going to come for you when you keep doing that. And if you keep doing that, it's gonna backfire. And the mockery serves no purpose at that point other than to perpetuate the old programming and the gross patriarchy. Even if you're, pretending to invert certain roles, and I use that word very specifically. Especially then, because you're trying to do chaos and confusion mongering and make someone feel a type of way, or you felt butthurt by something they said, so now you have to one up and up the ante and get pranky and punky. And how's that going to work out for you in the long run? It isn't. That's what I'm saying. It isn't. So, like the grotesque roast of Bob Saget, where they made disgusting jokes about sodomizing toddlers. That's really not that different than pretending that you just want to sit and read in a corner while your wife does all the emotional labor, heavy lifting, schooling of the children, making sure their nutrition is good. It's just horrific, right? Like, so some of these things I start to like, and then they start to go dark, and I notice that. And I'll like little comments here and there, and I'm a brat and a troll myself sometimes. I can fully admit that when I'm triggered. And things that trigger me are humor aimed to punch down on the vulnerable in society, which is children and women. Why are women vulnerable still in 2025? Well, look what's playing out in the media. Absolute lies, absolute cover-up, and absolute harm to women and children. That was done on an island, but also is done in basements, in church basements especially, by the neighbor, by the babysitter's boyfriend, by the daycare, by fully decorated generals in the army. So, hey, laugh it up, right? Laugh it the fuck up. Don't actually do anything to change that. You know, pointing at it and laughing at it doesn't change it. It calls it out, but it doesn't change the narrative. It doesn't change the discussion, and it keeps the old Archie Bunker tropes alive, right? Women are here to serve. We came from your rib instead of the fact that you came from our womb. Okay, well, you can pretend to be a feminist in your daily life, but then sometimes your true colors slip through in the humor, the so-called humor, the dark humor, the twisted humor, the I'll show you kind of humor. How's that working for you? Did you outgrow it yet? I guess I haven't, because here I am mocking the mockers, right? But yeah, I don't have respect for that, and I don't find it amusing or entertaining or informative or educational or inspiring. What I do find it to be is lowbrow, low level, and low intelligence, right? So there are things we can all laugh at that are universal, like, cute little puppies doing fun things, or children saying sweet things, or, there are some things that are uplifting, and there are some things that are divisive and cruel. And at a certain point, my dad, who, grew up in Boston, and sarcasm is our second language there. We're fluent in it, and if you come near us with a sharp stick, we're coming at you with, razor blades on our sharp stick. So you will not win. We will outsharp you, if that makes sense. We will outwit you, and we will catch you at your own game and put a mirror up to you, and you won't like it. You'll be off in a corner crying instead of reading. So that's all I want to say about that is watch your step and watch your vibrations and your frequency, because it gets messy, right? You're leaking all over the place if you're doing gaslighting humor. If you are not sort of fully direct with the person who hurt your feelings with a joke that you didn't like, so you didn't say ouch or don't say that or I don't like that. Instead, you had to fabricate a whole skit or a whole bunch of skits, or use lyrics and songs as a fist, or your religion as a fist, or a Bible or a gun. You're not making the world better with your humor. Laughter's great. It is good medicine. But if it has to punch down on someone or be a bully, and I'm not talking like reactive abuse, as they call it, which is just self-defense. If someone comes at you first, or they're being a dick and thinking they're funny, or they're cute, or they're funny and cute when they're neither. So yeah, here's a book for you. Codependency No More, Melody Beattie. The whole planet should read that one. You Can Heal Your Life, Louise Hay. That's a great manual for anyone who has a body. And She Comes First, for any man on this planet, or someone pretending to be a man, but really just being a man-child, or a tall boy, or a female pretending to be a man, or whatever, right? Take your pick on that. So like I said, I haven't outgrown it either. Hey, we can all appreciate a good dick and fart joke, right? That's just, appeals to the third grader in all of us. However, if you are on a platform and you have a voice and you have an audience and you punch down on someone who has like less than 300 people, and I'm talking specifically kind of like Kardashians right now, for example, or even other influencers who are not at their level of fame and wealth and visibility, but just want to be. And so they'll step on other people's heads to get there. That's not going to go well for you. That's going to be problematic. It's going to affect you and your family and your soul. So, yeah, be careful whose feelings you're hurting. You never know how that's going to shake out later. Not in a revenge way, but in a karmic and cosmic justice way. So yeah, there's my little recommendations for reading for those who like to read. And I think it's great if you want to read and enrich your mind. It's a wonderful thing. But you should use things that are useful, like The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. That's a good one. Maybe make some skits about that. Okay? All right. Much love. Big hugs. And duck, duck, goose to everybody out there who's playing their kindergarten games.